Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D Remake is fast approaching, only 1 week to go, so it's only natural for me to make a video on everything you should know. Heck, it's everything you should be hyped about when it comes to the game, so I'm hoping you can join me today for this one, but I want to just get a vibe check. Let me know in the comment section down below how excited you are about Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D Remake, because I am really excited to dive into this. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. Got you covered with timestamps, so if you want to skip to a certain section of the video, feel free to do so. All I ask is you to support the channel, hit the like button, it helps out a lot. And if you want to stick around for some more Dragon Quest content, you're already in the right place. Just hit that subscribe button. So let's start off with Dragon Quest 1 and let me set the scene. Thanks to the heroic efforts of the legendary Erdrick, the Lord of the Underworld was defeated and peace returned to the land of Alfgard. Yet this peace was not to last, as the diabolical Dragon Lord has risen and unleashed hordes of monsters on the realm once more. Now, descendant of Erdrick, it is your destiny to defeat this new evil and rescue the world from this plight. So Dragon Quest 1, pretty basic story when it comes to the original, but we know that it's going to get expanded on. We know that we're getting more Princess Gwaelin because she has the connection to Rubis, which then leads us to getting more Rubis in Dragon Quest 1 because Rubis was not very present. I think there's a few mentions maybe in the mobile ports. We're having flashbacks for Gwaelin, and I'm sure we're going to have more nods to Dragon Quest 3 and more nods forward to Dragon Quest 2. We also know that we're getting the addition of the fairies and the dwarves, which are going to further tie into the story. Again, I assume that the dwarves are going to have something to do with creating something like they did in Dragon Quest 3. And when it comes to the fairies, we know that they're going to be working with the descendant of Erdrick here, us the hero, in making the 5 sigils, which will become a pivotal part in Dragon Quest 2. I think that's about it for the story. Very interested to see if there's any nods back to Dragon Quest 3 and very interested in how they handle the transition between Dragon Quest 1 and 2, but it's going to be great to experience with the addition of voice acting as well. This is going to be the best way to experience Dragon Quest 1's story, but I think it's important to note that it's probably wise to play Dragon Quest 3 first to get the scope of the story, though I'm sure you can dive into Dragon Quest 1 just fine and pick up the story as you go along. So let's move on to the gameplay and all the additions we can expect here in Dragon Quest 1. And let's start off with the exploration. Much like Dragon Quest 3 HD-2D Remake, the world is going to be expanded. We know that there's going to be new locations, and I would assume that these are going to be related to both the fairies and the dwarves. We know that we're getting new dungeons as well to explore. Whether this is going to be side content or if this is going to be part of the main story, we don't know. But I assume with Dragon Quest 1 being quite a smaller game, that it's all going to be tied into a concise and consistent story. We also know, aside from the dungeons, that there are going to be new locations like the Roadside Inn, which sets up the story for the Magic Key. Whether again this is side content or part of the main story, we will find out, but the fact that there's new locations and story beats tied to it, it's going to be a great time all around. Everything when it comes to exploration is going to be expanded, with the sparkly spots to distract us from where we're supposed to be going, from the hidden spots on the world map as well to find extra items and everything else in between. It's going to be a pleasure to explore, and I'm a big fan of the Dragon Quest 1 world map music, so spending so much time on the world map is going to be great. So now I'm going to jump straight into endgame content. We know nothing. We don't even know if we are getting endgame content, but if Dragon Quest 3 is anything to go by, I should imagine we'll expect something. We know that we're getting mini medals. How many we're going to get, we don't know, but it's there. It's going to get us to explore more, and there's going to be items that are definitely going to help us along the way. Can we expect a super boss? Maybe a boss that harkens back to Dragon Quest 3? Maybe a boss that nods toward Dragon Quest 2. We also know that we have scrolls that are going to give us abilities. Are these tied to endgame content? Are we going to get some of the most ultimate skills like Giga Slash through doing some endgame content to really help us, I don't know, replay the game and feel more powerful as we do it? We don't know, but it's something that we're all thoroughly excited to see what it brings to the table. And that then brings us to the combat of Dragon Quest 1. the most unique thing that I'm looking forward to when it comes to the game, because we're playing as the solo hero. I always thought that we were going to be having some kind of companion, whether it was the princess or we were going to even be collecting monsters. I was very wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but you never know. Again, tying into that endgame content, we might have something. But combat, it's not one-on-one anymore. It's 1v a plethora of enemies. It could be 2, it could be 6, it could even be 8. We don't know what the maximum is, but this is what makes it most interesting to me, because we just have one character. We're only getting the one turn. The enemies could be getting 8 turns in a row. So we're going to really need to utilize the skills and abilities. I think this is going to be one of the Dragon Quest's games out of the whole series where we're going to appreciate some skills that we might not even have used in other Dragon Quest games. And that is a pretty good thing, shining light to abilities that you may carry on into Dragon Quest 2, even though the field is a little bit more even when it comes to party members. It's nice to show appreciation to some abilities and spells that are just not usually go-tos. One that we know about is Cop Out, and this reflects damage back onto the enemy. I think this would be a great ability to use when mitigating bigger groups of enemies that you go against. Say you go against 4 slimes and they are hitting you left, right and center. Putting up Cop Out could eliminate 2 of them straight off the bat. That evens out the playing field for you to use just basic attacks or use other abilities. So I'm really excited to dive in. With the addition of scrolls, knowing that we're going to get even more abilities to mess around with, I think the strategies and the play styles of Dragon Quest 1 when it comes to its combat is probably the most exciting thing about the game at this stage. And I think that ties up everything that we know about Dragon Quest 1. We can expect this to be the smaller of the 2 games here, but I think this is going to be an unforgettable experience. And then that leads us on to Dragon Quest 2. And allow me again to set the scene with this one. Many years have passed since Elfgard was saved at the hero's hand, earning him the same title as his storied forebear. The descendants of Erdrick and his Scions founded 3 kingdoms and thrived in peacetime, yet darkness stirs once more, and a sudden invasion of malicious monsters plunges the world into shadow again. All that stands between the forces of evil and their wicked ambitions is a band of young princes and princesses of Erdrick's lineage. The time has come for them to venture forth and honor their ancestors' legacy. So straight off the bat, we know that Dragon Quest 2 is going to conclude everything, so it's got the biggest stakes behind the story. We were alluded to the big bad back in Dragon Quest 3, so it's all coming full circle here, and I'm really excited to see how it all goes down and what could possibly be happening next. They said in the trailers to witness a new ending, so we know we're getting something really new here, but we're getting new things all over the place when it comes to Dragon Quest 2. Again, the dwarves and the fairies play pivotal roles. What roles they may be, we don't know. Rubis is also going to be a staple in Dragon Quest 2 more than she ever was in any versions of Dragon Quest 2. Of course, we now have 4 descendants of Erdrick, that of the Prince of Middenhall, the Princess of Moonbrook, the Princess of Cannock, and the Prince of Cannock. So seeing how these guys are going to interact with one another, because again, voice acting, I want to see how that relationship establishes and how the Princess of Cannock is introduced into the party. We know that she joins the hero very early on to search for the Prince of Cannock, but that's just more in a supporting role at that time. So I'm really interested to see where things might happen. Players of the original Dragon Quest 2 might have a good idea where that might take place, but I'm interested to see how it all goes down. The fact that we can also go underwater and visit the mermaids adds another big story beat that I'm really excited to dive into. And of course, we can revisit the world of Dragon Quest 1 and retread the steps that we ourselves did in Dragon Quest 1. So now let's talk about the gameplay, and I've got to start off with the world. We have the world of Dragon Quest 1 with all the main locations that we visited in Dragon Quest 1 in Dragon Quest 2, so it's going to be nice to go back and learn about the legacy of Erdrick, of what we played before in Dragon Quest 1. We have a bigger world with more towns, dungeons, and secret spots, sparklies, underwater. Man, there's so much just going over in my head right now. Underwater is probably the biggest addition here. We've not seen that since Dragon Quest VI, I believe. I might be wrong, I'm sure someone will correct me, but an explorable seabed with more locations to discover and more secrets that may lie deep underwater, as well as we know that we're getting the memories that we need to collect as well, adding even more to the story. I think we're going to get so lost in Dragon Quest II in just its exploration alone. There's going to be so many distractions as well. Having the world map expanded like Dragon Quest III. Whew, where do we begin? It's going to be a barrel of a time. So again, like Dragon Quest 1, let's talk about endgame content. Dragon Quest II is the conclusion of the Erdrick trilogy, so I should imagine there's going to be some kind of endgame, some kind of distraction in side content, bosses to face, maybe little nods to other Dragon Quest games. I don't know what they could be doing here, but it's exciting. We know we're getting mini medals once again. I should imagine there's probably going to be more mini medals to explore since there's a bigger world in Dragon Quest II. We have 4 characters to try and equip and make our own, so there's going to be loads of items to dive into as well. Man, I think we can all agree, and you can let me know in the comment section down below, that this is going to be an incredible experience for fans of Dragon Quest. So let's talk about combat. In Dragon Quest 1, like we said, the solo hero is going to be a very interesting thing to experiment with and mess around with. But here we have a party of 4, all bringing something to the table. And from my experience of playing the preview back earlier this year, I can tell you that the prince is no longer a squishy boy and can bring some utility to the table. We've seen him use Giga Slash in some trailers, and that is just enough evidence right there to know that he is not someone to be messed around with. But we have 4 characters. We have scrolls to collect once again, which we can not just use on one hero. Sometimes it might just be for one hero, but sometimes we may need to make the choice. Whether there's going to be duplicates, we don't know, I should imagine, or maybe this is something that we really need to think about on what character is bringing what to the table. We know that the Prince of Midenhall is based on more of attack. We know that the Princess of Moonbrook is more mage related with powerful spells. The Prince of Cannock is bringing both physical and magical properties to battle, and then the Princess of Cannock, the newcomer here, the Jill of all trades, because she brings a lot of the vocation type stuff from Dragon Quest 3, like the Thief, the Gadabout, the Monk, and everything else in between. We're having everything at our disposal here, so I should imagine the battles are going to be quite exhilarating, and as we get towards the end game and the end game dungeons and everything like that, that we're really going to be put to the test here. It's exciting times. I'm going through the list of all the things I've gathered from all the trailers and having the footage that you're seeing now. I think we're all ready for it. We're all ready for the conclusion of the Erdrick trilogy and to what it may bring beyond that. I appreciate your time hanging out, just talking and getting hyped about Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD-2D Remake. If there's anything I've missed, let us know in the comment section down below and keep the hype going. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.